Many are naive because they don't understand the times that we are in, and that's why they are victims in life. You see, somebody wakes up, somebody speaks to him, and he gives him money. He doesn't follow the rigid legal process of putting that transaction together, and he said, no, don't worry, we go to the same church. He doesn't know that we are in the last days. After 2 weeks, that brother will look for another church, and then you call him, he won't pick. And then you say, how about the agreement? He said, which agreement? Where is my money? Which money are you talking about? You will be so shocked, but it's because you don't know the season. If you define the season, you will have rigid protocols in dealing with people, not because you doubt them, but because of the times that we are in. So if you want to do business with somebody, you will say, I appreciate you, let's sign paper so that we can keep this as a memorial. It's not evidence, it's a memorial. A brother almost left the church. What happened? Pastor recommended somebody to him, and he emptied his account to invest for a business. The person now vanished. When the person vanished, he called and couldn't access the person. So he now went back to pastor, since pastor is the one that linked him, and said, Pastor, you know the story. That was like 10 years ago, somewhere in Makodi. Pastor, this person, I'm not hearing from him. Pastor said, was I there when you people did business? I'm focusing on prayer. You are focusing on prayer. I have signed over 200 million. You are focusing on prayer. Are you not the one who recommended this brother? Sir, we will pray about this matter. We have to discuss it. I'm not saying doubt people. I'm just saying be wise because of the times. Do you know this brother had to pay DSS and carried officers from Makodi to Lagos to trace that man, arrest the man before part of the money started coming out? You need to discern the times, and for you to be able to define correctly where we are, you must understand the signs. Number 2, it will help you to interpret human action and actions. And like I was showing you last week, if you don't understand human actions, you'll be offended a lot of times. But if you already know people, you will program your soul in a way that you'll not be hurt. As I am now, if you betray me, I'm already prepared for it. I will only pray for you that God should help you. If he hurts me, it's because I love you. But it won't take long, because I know that one of the codes that defines this season we are in is called betrayal. It's betrayal. So when I'm living with people, I don't kill myself. If you betray me, I know you are responding to the times. If I see people arrogant, I'm not the kind of pastor that I'm in church, somebody didn't greet you well and I notice. No, I don't. It's part of the age. People will be proud, people will be boasters, people will be arrogant. It's part of the age. People will be disobedient to authorities. It's part of the age. So when you see it, you will know. And so for those of us who have opportunity to talk to people, we don't talk to them as though we are naive. We talk to them and we attack the spirit controlling them. That's why sometimes we are aggressive. And I was telling you last week Tuesday, that when we teach, sometimes we address the spirit of the age, sometimes we address the spirit of the territory before we even address people. And so when you see us corrosive, it's not because we are insensitive. It's because we know that people are doing what they are doing because of the power of the age. Many preachers will be shocked unless God helps. Many preachers will be shocked. In the last days, you will discover that the greatest victims will be those who are in authority. Many people will be surprised because they would have undermined these things, thinking that it's well with them, they are in order. It's a judgment will begin from the household of God. Judgment will begin from the church, and it will begin from the altar. Praise God. So let's look at the moral signs. Matthew 24. I'm using that scripture so that I can attempt to summarize everything from there, because Matthew 24 gives us an overview but the book of Revelation gives us specificities. If we go into the book of Revelations, the signs alone will take us many series to be able to handle. But when we are teaching it in a short series like we are doing now, then we have to do it from the overview. So let's look at the signs that borders on morality. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the building of the temple. They were still looking at physical things and prioritizing them. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Verse 3. The moment Jesus said that, their hearts began to beat. So anybody who builds his life on physical things, Jesus said everything will be wrecked. Peter was speaking, he said the elements of this world will melt. The moment Jesus told them everything on earth that is physical, including your bank and bank account, will be melted, their hearts now began to beat. Your business will burn. Your certificate will burn. I know you are a Harvard graduate and it's good. Use it now to the degree that you can. But remember, that certificate, if you like, go and insure it in a bank, it will be burned. He said there will be no stone that will be left on the other. So their heart began to beat. And for the first time, they started thinking of something that is eternal. And so as they sat upon the mountain, you notice that there was silence. They asked him this question in the temple. They kept quiet and he trekked until he came to the mountain and sat down. That was when they caught their breath. If this thing you are saying is true, they now came up with another kind of question that has eternal value. And the question was, as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, what shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? And what shall be the sign of the end of the world? So the coming of Jesus itself is a sign of the end. Are you following? And then there are signs that precedes the coming of Jesus. So you are talking two categories of realities. The signs that come before his second coming, and then his second coming itself being a sign of the end of the age. Now that they are talking something that matter, Jesus can talk. You know, the first one they brought to him, he answered them in one verse and kept quiet. Now he will speak for more than 30 verses, because this one is a heavy matter. And Jesus began to speak, and he said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Now the foundation of immorality in the last days is deception. And so the whole science about morality is weaved into deception. A man who is not deceived cannot be immoral. The reason you find many people fall into immoral living in the last days is because they are deluded. And as I go through scriptures, you will understand what I'm talking about. In verse 5, it says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So the reason deception will thrive is because men will want to usurp the authority of God and make people understand that everything God represents, they represent it. So they will not need to keep God's moral standard and still receive what God says he has to offer. So it's not just about saying a person. Now there are many persons who have come in history who claim that they are Christ. But you see, this thing is telling us something that is deeper than people. Even systems will take the place of God in the last days. So they can come and tell you that forget about all this teaching on faith for divine health. Better adopt medicine. If you don't, you are finished. And then they will project a lot of what do you call it now? Plagues. And so people will become afraid. And so medicine will become Christ in the life of many people. And when you make medicine your God, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with medicine, but I'm saying medicine is a corridor that the devil will ride on. And when you make medicine your God, the next thing they will come back and tell you sex is the best form of exercise. If you want to live long, better begin to practice it from the age of 17. And if you practice it regularly, your genes will be built up and you will live long. And many people who have no regard for the real Christ now, who said sex cannot be done outside marriage, because the system have become Christ, they will have to substitute the law of Christ and follow the new law that the system prescribes, because another Lord have been established. And then for those who still refuse, because this thing has taken center stage and it has paralyzed even the government of the day, the government will now start passing laws. And so you go to many nations, your child of 14 years can come home with his boyfriend and they'll be doing exercise. If you talk, you'll be jailed, because medicine is now Lord. And they will now go further and shift it into perversion and tell you there's nothing special about your gender. You are actually what you feel like. Meanwhile, Christ, who is your first Lord, said, we walk by faith, not by sensory perception. But medical science now has become a weapon in the hands of the devil. And so it tells you that your sex is what you feel like. So if you were born a boy and you feel like you are a girl, it's your feeling that determines who you are. And so your father can say nothing, because even the government have put an embargo. If he talks anything, he is fighting your will. And so a child of 5 years, of 7 years, who cannot choose the school he goes to, can choose his own gender. And there's nothing your father can do about it. And this is happening now in the world. And then your child, the government will pay for everything. Your child will undergo a surgery. Your child will be, his gender will be changed, and he will become a transgender, and he will become an ambassador to motivate others to follow the delusion. Now, if Christ is Lord, those subjects will not be discussed. The reason we can discuss them is because Christ is no longer Lord. Many Christs have appeared and have deceived many. You know, when you hear things like this, it's possible for you to look at yourself and say, no, they are not wise, they are darks. This is not about mental power. I've counseled with a lot of people before. I've seen young men who confide in me and ask for prayer. They are sitting with a fellow young man, and a spirit is just pushing them to kiss the person. This is a young man talking with a young man. As they are talking close, he's just feeling a push, not because he's feeling anything. Kiss the person, and he doesn't know what's happening. Now, if you don't know that this thing is beyond emotion, that spirits are involved, you will allow that thing to begin to mutilate the purity of your soul structure until it will become a stronghold, and then you will fall into that delusion. Now, in fact, what the Bible said is that the reason men will become immoral is because they are deluded. And the reason men are deluded is because they are controlled by seducing spirits. And these seducing spirits will not only seduce men, they will pioneer doctrines of devils. And it is the doctrines of devils and the seduction of these spirits that will make men fall. You know, the first man that was created, as original as he was, when the seducing spirit came in form of a serpent, he couldn't resist him. So this thing is not about willpower. It's about the power of the ages to come working in your spirit man. You know, the Hebrew word for the whispers of the serpent is called nakash. That thing the serpent does, he enters and penetrates the soul and reconfigure the soul structure. If you don't know how to shield yourself from that seduction, you will be shocked that you will not only fall, you will become an ambassador of immorality. Most of the people who are heading the gay movement today, there were people before who said they were martyrs. One of the songs we used to sing those days to set ourselves on fire, I heard later that the person who sang it had gone to the other side. He went the way, he moved from martyrdom into gay. How many of you have heard the song? I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. That's one of the most powerful songs on earth today. Go and search it. With all my heart, with all my strength,
I approve to honor him.
He said, I pledge to honor his commands. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. Before the song started, he was talking to his son. And he was telling him, in case they matter us and they come for you, this should be your stand, this should be your testimony. Somebody who was baptized with the spirit of martyrdom, what happened? Nakash, the whispers of the serpent, it penetrated the soul. You know what the Bible calls them? He said they are deluded. Let me read some scriptures so that you will know why you must understand the sign of deception and know how to combat it. The song now wants to take me somewhere else. Play it on the keyboard. Is content. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. Can you project that song? I want to show you something so that you will know the weight of this man in the spirit. I begged myself for many days. I said, this thing is a lie. Can we find that song? Let me show you something. This is Bible study. It's not fire service, so but don't worry. Hear the lyrics. I have heard how Christians long ago were brought before a tyrant's throne, and they were told that he would spare their lives if they would renounce the name of Christ. But one by one they choose to die. The Son of God they would not deny. Like a great angelic choir they sang. I can almost hear their songs. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb with all my strength, with all I am. I will seek to honor His command. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. See, no, we will sing the song later. Let the choir get it. I don't want to go up first. How can a man who had this kind of body, what did they tell him? What? And you here who is still falling and standing up every 2 months, you say you are ready. The depth of deception that will come in the last day is in the order of the serpent. It's called Nakash. It's the whisper. It enters the soul and it reconfigures man. And so, while will seduction, why will deception thrive, and why will immorality take the center stage? Because seducing spirits will appear on the scenes in the last days. Hear what the Bible says. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1 and 2. I'm saying this so you don't deceive yourself and say I am strong. You will need to run into the everlasting arms of God. He said, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. Why? Giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. So it is spirits and devils that seduce, that will deceive men through men and make men to become immoral. Now, what is the goal of immorality? I want to show you the two things the devil wants to achieve that makes him sponsor deception and implant immorality in the souls of men. Number one is to bring them into delusion. The Bible said, and for this cause God shall send strong delusion, and they should believe a lie. So when this thing happens, God will allow for these people to become deluded, and so lies will become their doctrine. So most of these people who are advocating for the gay movement, advocating for all of this evil, they are not doing it because they want to sponsor something evil. They actually believe it is the best way to go. They think it's the rights of men. They think people should be allowed to do what they believe they should do. They think they are fighting for the liberty of men. That's why they will give their monies, they will give their time, they will use their influence, because they are deluded. Now they have believed a lie. They will die for it, thinking they are doing humanity a favor, but it's a departure from the ordinances of God. So the reason for this immorality is to provoke delusion. Hear what the Bible said in 1 Corinthians 2:12. When these spirits come, they blind men. They say, now we have not received, we have received not the spirit of the world, but the spirit which is of God, that we should know the things which are freely given to us by God. So the spirit of God helps you to know the things of God. But when you don't have the spirit of God and the spirit of the world takes over, 2 Corinthians 4:3-4, hear what the spirit of the world does. They said, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, whom the God of this world, verse 4, whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, shall shine unto them. So when people come under the influence of the spirit of the world, they become blinded, and then they believe a lie. So there will be great delusion in the souls and in the minds of men, and this delusion will be so much that for some, a whole nation will be deluded. Now when I'm teaching you about the judgments of God, there are 5 cadres of judgment. The last cadre of judgment is when the nations are judged. You know, when the new Jerusalem appears, the overcomers will be invited into the new Jerusalem, but there are others who will be in the nations. The Bible said the leaves that will grow in the streets of the new Jerusalem shall be for the healing of the nations. So there are certain nations that will pass the test of the judgment of God. They will be included in what God is doing. But there are other nations like Sodom and Gomorrah that will be completely wiped out from existence. And so this delusion can affect individuals, systems, and nations. These spirits are that powerful. So the reason you see immorality everywhere is not about feeling, it's not about pleasure. It's so that you become deluded, you become blind to the things of God. You now believe a lie, and then you start living a lie, and at the end of the day, that's why I told you, when you live like this, don't make the mistake of assuming that before you die you will repent. That is also delusion. You will live this lie and you will die in it. You will die because it's a programming. You are already blinded. You have become vain in your understanding. That's what prosperity, that's what immorality wants to do, to make you vain. You cannot receive the things of God, you can't understand the things of God, you can't participate in the things of God. In 1 Corinthians 2:14, it said, the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, neither can he know them. He said they are spiritually discerned. Ephesians 1:17-18, he said, do not walk as the Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their minds. He said these ones have their understanding darkened, so they can no longer participate in the commonwealth of Israel. So when you think any immoral thing you do is about your feeling and you ask God to forgive you, you don't know where you are. You are in the last days, and what the devil is doing is to sponsor immorality, to darken the souls of men, and to make men live a lie. This is why we fight to be pure. This is why we battle it. We preach it with aggression, we live it with aggression, because if you don't live it, you will be exonerated, my brothers and sisters. Number 2, why does the devil sponsor immorality? Through deception. Romans 1:21-28, hear what the Bible says. It said, because that when they knew not God, I beg your pardon, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful. Hope you are seeing the consistency, because these ones that bring this deception, they come as Christ. He said many will come and say, I am Christ. So the first thing is to take the place of God in your life. It can be a man, it can be a system, it can be a government, it can be an institution. Anything that wants to take the place of God in your life is a weapon the devil will use to delude you. He said these ones, they knew God, but they did not glorify him as God. Why? Because another Christ has taken over. And as they did not glorify him as God, he said they were not thankful, and so they became vain in their imagination. You see the delusion again. And the foolishness and in the foolishness of their hearts, he said they were darkened. Verse 22, he said, professing themselves to be wise, they have become fools. The word fools used here is morons. They have become morons. They are beside themselves. They are out of their minds. They are saying things that are outrightly foolish, but they can't see it. They have become morons. And so there are many nations today that are dominated by morons. No matter how big they think they are, the Bible said they are morons because they are deluded. They are beside themselves. When you find people carry placards and they are fighting to change the agenda, they are fools. That's what the Bible said. When you find people carry placards and they are contesting that abortion should be legalized, no matter how exalted that nation appears in the eyes of men, they are fools. I'm telling you, people who have understanding, they go to America today because God is sending them. And those who are not sent, they are living there. It's only a man who doesn't understand the season that is thinking greener pasture. Are you a cow? America, 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 America. What are you going to do? Is God sending you? You don't understand the times. That nation now should be a place of the convergence of warriors, men who can stand and have enough power in the spirit to look at darkness and to judge those spirits, so that the minds of men can become sane. It's not a place to go look for greener pasture. That's a warfare ground where the souls of men are being traded, and you say it's a place for greener pasture. What pasture? You don't have understanding of the times. If God is not sending you there, that place is a risk. I can tell you today, by all of, there are many people today, they are subscribing to home lessons, private education. You can't allow. A lawyer went to the school of his child, and he found some of the books they were giving them to read. Children of 7 years, and the books they were teaching them, they claim it is sex education, and they were teaching them, they were unveiling pornography, outright pornography to them, and encouraging them to practice. And the man was reading it and said, how can you expose my child? They were stopping him. He said, why are you stopping me from reading it? If you have given it to my child who is 7 years old, why are you ashamed that I'm now reading it out? Because they know what they are doing, and when you say it the way we are saying it now, they start shutting down your voice. The moment I started attacking gay, attacking lesbianism, attacking those things, they started shadow boxing my messages online. He said, and have changed the glory of God, the incorruptible glory of God, into the image like to corruptible man, to birds, to four-footed beasts, and to creeping things. It's trying to give you the progression of idolatry. Because idolatry, if you study it, it began with this worship of creeping objects. From creeping objects to four-footed beasts. Men were worshiping things that creep like serpents. They now migrated to things like cows. They now migrated to worshiping men. And that's why somebody's skin color is his God. He doesn't know why. Everybody wants to bleach. They don't know why. It's the spirit of the age. Somebody wants to gym so that he can turn his body to his idol. He doesn't know why. It's the spirit of the age. When self becomes God, know that that person has entered the full gestation period of idolatry. He has migrated from creeping objects to four-footed objects to man. So man is his God. Himself is his God. It's called deception. You don't know why 24 hours you are thinking yourself. When I come to the church signs, I will tell you why the Bible said when the gospel of the kingdom is preached, so that you know what the gospel of the kingdom is. The first aspect of the doctrine of the kingdom is self-denial, because he wants to bury idolatry and kill delusion.